Hi everyone. I changed locations because my baby woke up, but I really wanted to record this video because it's been on my mind and I really wanted to talk to you when it's fresh on my mind. So, there's obviously this big new thing in the world called AI. I think it's just going to revolutionize the way everyone does anything, but we kind of have to be really smart about how to use it. I do think there's a little bit of danger there. I do think it's going to replace a lot of jobs, but maybe create other jobs. I don't know. I am not the informed person to talk about it in that way, but I am a project manager and I do use it at work. My industry is trying to adopt AI and not just in, creating emails, which by the way is one of the biggest things I use it for, but also in how we design, how we engineer things, how do we make things more efficient. A lot of the jobs that it does do kind of replicate what junior engineers do. So I'm a little concerned over how that's going to work out. How am I going to train an engineer to be an engineer when they can't, when AI obviously does their job a little more effectively, but we'll figure it out. I've always thought, even before AI, I always liked using the tools in the most efficient manner, which means automating things. And AI obviously does that to an exponential level and a way more accurate level than I could ever, right? So I do think it's going to revolutionize many of our industries. That's not what this video is about, though. What I want to talk to you about today was how do I, as a project manager, take advantage of AI? ChatGPT. What's that other one called? I forgot, but the Microsoft one, the 365 one, there's multiple ones out there that you can use, right? My favorite ones are ChatGPT, and we're not allowed to use ChatGPT at work for work stuff, so I use the work one that we are allowed to use. First off, I want to tell you about how not to use AI, how to not use ChatGPT. I'm going to say ChatGPT interchangeably with AI because that's just how my brains work, but obviously know that they're not. ChatGPT is just one platform. Anyways, do not use AI to do your work and writing, especially if you do a lot of technical writing. Do not use it if you have not already developed those skills. If you're not already fully competent in writing a technical report, writing a progress report, writing whatever it is that you're doing, if you can't do it without AI, then don't use AI. Hone in on your skills first. And there's my child. Hone in on your skills first and then use AI. Once you know very well that you've done that a million times, that you could do it without AI and that you'd be just as competent without AI. AI is only supposed to make you more efficient, not take your knowledge. If you don't have a computer and you can't reproduce what AI is producing for you, then you should not be using AI. Next, don't use AI's word for word. Don't lose your voice. Don't lose your writing style. It is very easy to just use AI to format something that you've written. And even then, I've gotten feedback that it still sounds too AI when I ask for it to not change my writing style, just reformat it. We're all starting to sound the same. We're all losing our individuality, and it really sucks. I think there was this one quote or comment. I don't remember where I heard this, but essentially someone was like, I wanted to use AI to do the dishes, not to do my creative writing or do my art, which I think is a sentiment all of us feel. So don't use it word for word. Make sure you're rereading it. Make sure you're editing it for your style and your tempo and your individuality. Otherwise, we're all just going to be the same person. Next thing, don't copy and paste. I know it sounds like I'm just repeating myself, but I'm not. If you are going to be using AI, let's say you're at the point where you are confident, competent, can do any writing style, and now you're just using AI to help you be efficient, don't just copy and paste that in and send it off. Make sure that you're editing it. Think of AI as the junior engineer that is doing the first draft of a specific report. Make sure you're reading through it. Make sure that it's actually accurate and using the information that you're asking for it to use and not just outputting things that it's making up, because it does make up things. Now I'm going to go over how I do actually use AI, at least for now. I'm sure it's going to change in the future. I'm sure engineers are going to use it much differently. I'm sure it's going to, evolve, and I'm sure it's going to take up more of the jobs that I actually do. But I'll walk you through the 5 main ways that I use it. First off, obviously, emails. The way that I do this is I upload 3 emails in different styles. I'll upload a playful email, I'll upload a professional email, and I'll upload a serious, stern email to AI. I'll ask for it to read it, to keep it to memory, and to understand the tonalities of each. And then in that specific chat, I'll ask for it to adopt one of those tones. I'll brain dump the email that I need to write, and then I'll ask it to write it for me without changing my style and using my tone. So hard to film videos, puppy. Can you play? You want to play with mommy's microphone? Say hello. You can't eat the microphone. Okay, where was I? Okay, so then I ask AI to adopt one of those tones. I'll brain dump the email that I'm trying to write, and then obviously I'll ask it to make that email for me. Then I'll edit it. I'll make sure I read through it. I make sure I edit if it's not starting to sound like me and if it's missing things. I do recall spending hours sometimes on a very specific email that needs a lot of formatting, making sure that I'm clear, making sure that I'm transparent, making sure that, English is my second language so that I'm not messing up any of the definitions that I'm actually using. So that has definitely cut down my email writing time by way more than half. Okay, so the next way that I use it, or the next prompt that I use a lot, very often, I use this as a project manager, especially if I'm on a project where potentially I don't have a lot of expertise in the specific type of project that we're delivering. I'll ask for it to explain things to me in 4 different levels. First off, middle school level. So I really need things explained to me, 1 + 1 = 2. Then as an entry level, either technical engineer or whatever type of professional I need. Then as a subject matter expert. And then finally as a high level leader or project manager, whichever one I need at that moment. That has really been one of my favorite ways of using AI, because it's really cut down the amount of time that I need to figure something out, the research that I need to do. And it also helps me kind of formulate the questions that I need for, my mentors or the subject matter experts or other leadership. I do, though, be careful not to act like I know everything just because ChatGPT gave me all of this information. I don't act like an expert. This is just the research that I've done. I pretend like it's the research that I would have normally done anyway on a project. Next thing, I upload samples of my technical writing. Be careful not to upload proprietary information, but I do upload generic samples of my technical writing. And then when I am writing anything, a scope, a technical report, a progress report, whatever it is, I do a brain dump, and then he formats it in my style of writing. And then again, I make sure that it doesn't sound like AI. I make sure that it does sound like my style of writing. And I get rid of words that I would not normally use or sentence structures that I wouldn't normally use. And I input words that I do normally use. For example, I use a lot of in order to, or, statements that are very common in my technical writing. So again, I look at it as if it's the first draft of an entry level helping me create this report, and then I edit it for my style. Final 2 ways that I use it. One is to organize my thoughts. I don't know if it's my ADHD or the fact that I just have too much on my brain, but a lot of the time I like to have a sounding board, and usually that's someone I'm working with. But if I don't have that person, I like to use AI for it. I'll just talk to it as if I were talking to any other person to help me organize my thoughts. And finally, if I'm not training a junior engineer, or if I don't have an admin, I will have it take my project notes. It is no longer necessary for me to take project notes on a meeting and be the person actually writing them, because I know what's going on a project. And if I look at notes and I see those action items, I can clearly tell you, yes, that's the correct action item. No, you need to edit this action item, right? So same way as if we were an entry-level engineer, I ask for it to take my project notes, I review them, I edit them, I adjust the action items for the actual thing that I want it to say. If I am training someone, though, I won't use AI to do the project notes, because that's one of the best ways that I like to get junior engineers to not zone out during meetings and to actually absorb and think of a project holistically. Okay, so essentially to me, AI is like a combination of an entry-level engineer, an admin, and my own brain, my own self-conscious, my conscience? Yeah, my own conscience. So that's how I use them, like a combination of all of those things. All right, that's it. That's everything I had to say for this video. Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense with all the interruptions, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.